We're in Jackson Square. Beautiful cathedral behind us.
Wrapping up our vacation in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Today we started off with a tour.
And no shady spots. This is the most beautiful custom. This is the finest custom. By the way, that's our second oldest restaurant in the city, too. And the ladies who answered the call were from Normandy, France, the Ursuline nuns. But they kind of had their own agenda. In the 1500s, they were noticing a lot of women were being screwed over by unscrupulous men that would come up to their widows and say, "Oh, your husband died, you need to sign all these papers." And they were basically having them sign away their property and their money. And the nuns thought that was terrible, and so the Ursuline nuns said, "We can fix that. We'll just educate the women." So when they got here, that was kind of their mission, and they hit the ground running. They got here in 1727, and within 1 year, they had a school going for girls. And that girls' school still runs today. It is the oldest girls' school in our country, Ursuline Academy. We were French and looked quite different. This is a big dirt patch. There was no garden here. So we'd come to watch, get some coffee, watch soldiers march around, watch people get executed, bring the family in. There was no fence around it. These buildings were all much smaller. The big red buildings of the A&P were not there yet. Andrew Jackson wasn't born yet, and you could see the river. It's kind of cool to come out here, get some coffee, watch the river. So what happened was in 1762 was the French king was involved in a war with the British. So he was terrified of the British getting the Louisiana Territory. Even though he didn't know what to do with it, it was huge, it was big, he didn't want them to have it. And so he told his cousin just happened to be the Spanish king. He said, "Hey cousin, you take the Louisiana Territory, keep it safe, but for God's sakes, do not tell the French people in New Orleans. They'll freak, they like to party, they love being French, they're different, you'll find out about these people in New Orleans." And so the Spanish king, he was so tickled to get this huge, "Oh, yeah, well, fine, whatever, I'll take it." But about 6 years down the road, this is a huge territory, this is a port city with a giant superhighway. He had to send some kind of a governor here to keep things straight. And so he sent one, and we figured out who he was, where he was from. We kicked him out. And so the French king and the Spanish king wasn't sure what to do. And the Spanish king had on his staff an Irishman. General O'Reilly said, "I know what to do with those Frenchmen. You leave them to me." And so one day there's a big cannon shot, and everyone comes out here to see what's going on. And what they saw on the river were 20 Spanish ships with 2,000 Spanish soldiers and 47, somebody counted them, 47 Spanish cannons pointed right at them. And there was General O'Reilly. It was kind of his way of saying, "Well, buenos dias, welcome to Spain." And then he grabbed the Frenchmen who were the most trouble, had them all killed. That's why Frenchman Street got its name. Then we didn't bother him again, but the next thing that happened was pretty cool. Those 2,000 Spanish soldiers came off the ships. They doubled our population, and the very first thing they did was fall in love with the way we danced, gambled, drank, partied, Mardi Gras, festive, ate, dressed, had a little style. And most of all, the women. Most, if not all, of the Spanish governors and Spanish officers married French women. They were like, "Holy smoke, this town's way too much fun to hell with Spanish culture. We're keeping this baby French." So remember the big fire? All the Spanish architecture, but it remained French because the Spanish loved the French lifestyle so much. Matter of fact, Almonaster was one of those guys off the ships that was Spanish. He made himself to be one of the richest guys in the country. He loved this town. When a big fire happened, he says, "Don't worry about it. I'm filthy rich now. I'm going to buy you a new church. I'm going to buy you a new cabildo," which was the government offices, and help with the other big buildings. And we're so grateful to Almonaster that if you go inside of the cathedral, look in the very, very, very front, take a right in front of the altar, you'll see on the ground his grave, Almonaster's written right there on the floor.
So we got to see supposedly where Marie Laveau is buried. There are possibly 2 or 3 locations within that same cemetery. So, I mean, who knows where she actually is. but supposedly she's in that cemetery.
Ground burial in the swamp, which can be done, but it's a little dicey because the streets would flood from the river every now and then. And that was a blessing because the streets were our sewage. See, the street flow was like, yay, flushing the toilet. But it would also take away some of the bodies or uncover some of the bodies, and it got so nasty the Spanish government says, look, it's disgusting. We're gonna just grab all the tombs and bones you can, which in reality the workers just going to take the tombs and say you took the bones. And I'm going to give you a new place, that's where we're going. Just, it's outside of the city, it won't be such a problem. That wouldn't matter so much. And so we made a city block. But every now and then we do find some former residents, and then when we do a little remodeling or excavation or put a pool in, and I'll show you where we put them in the cemetery. So anyway, St. Peter Street Cemetery, now the Maison Dupuis, and they tell me the Maison Dupuis was the last new hotel in the 70s they let built in the French. Where my daughter is staying.
Really hot.
It's really hot.
Stupid hot. Pretty neat cemetery for what it is. Nicolas Cage already has a gravesite, and it doesn't look anything like any of the other ones.
It's literally a giant pyramid. It's the weirdest thing.
It's different. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, but St. Louis #1 is the oldest in the city. There's like 15 or some different cemeteries. But
oldest standing cemetery in the city.
Oldest standing cemetery.
Because there's an older cemetery, it's just under a restaurant and nobody knows about it. But
yeah,
that's just a little fun fact for you.
Yeah.
Then today for lunch we went back to Redfish.
We went back to Redfish.
And you know, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, y'all just eat at the same restaurants over and over.
We did.
Yes, we did. And there's a reason. It is outrageously good. Today's meal, we both filled up on po' boys, had an appetizer, each had a drink and water, and it cost us $64. So you can't really go
fried green tomatoes, man.
Yeah, if you're in town, go to Redfish. Just get the fried green tomatoes and you won't be disappointed.
So we just came from the Louisiana State Museum, and they had, half of it was on Mardi Gras, half of it was on Hurricane Katrina, which are both really, really interesting.
And both notorious in the city.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Katrina devastated this town and basically ravished a ton of different parishes inside the city.
Basically, hurricane conditions are possible within this watch area in the next 36 hours. It's a big storm, Eric. It's getting bigger. You can't just think of it as one center point. You have to look at the entire wind field, the entire storm itself.
The mandatory evacuation is up in St. Charles Parish, Plaquemines Parish, and beginning at 2 o'clock in Lafourche Parish.
I've been very, very concerned about what the outcome is going to be.
All right, Mr. Rousseau, do you have a sense of how many people have evacuated?
So I would say 50%.
Mardi Gras is what they do.
Yeah.
Anything we've learned this week is New Orleans loves to party. And that is all they care about.
Yeah, it's not just Bourbon Street, like they love their...
It's across the city. Everybody has drinks, food, and a lot of places are open 24/7.
Wait, come here. You can see our reflection.
Jackson Square?
So, what kind of like almost shook me to my core, I guess, was the Hurricane Katrina portion of it. They had like objects and different artifacts from like people's houses from down there, and there was this garage door that was like spray painted all over the place, and there was a giant X on it, and there was like, there's an animal dead in here, like do not remove the spray paint. Like, it was nuts.
Yeah, you definitely, it almost humbles you.
Oh, for sure.
For, you know,
and there was just
us
like
Northerners, we don't deal with stuff like that.
Right. There was all this, these different video clips and like news coverages of like how high the water was and how the trees were like sideways from the wind and just the water and everything. It was crazy. Very scary.
I think if we would come back, I think we would probably both do more of the Katrina stuff than anything. Bourbon Street's cool. It's a dirtier, lower Broadway comparison to Nashville. Kind of gets old. Really expensive when you can get drinks elsewhere, cheaper and better.
We have to leave for the airport about an hour. Sad time.
Had a absolute wonderful time here in New Orleans.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be a vacation to remember because it's our first together.
Yeah.
And thinking there might be a few more in the books, so.
Just a few more.
Just a few.
Yeah.
But had a great time together and experienced a ton in this lovely city.
Food was unreal. We're both huge seafood fans, so New Orleans, anywhere on the coast is like an awesome place to go for seafood. Lots of culture and history with Mardi Gras and the French Quarter. Anything else?
This is an awesome city. You gotta see it. If you're down here, seafood, don't do anything else. Jackson Square, a lot of it revolves around this square. Cafe Du Mont's right over there. Church back here. Awesome museum over here. River is right behind you. It's a really, really cool area.
We'll see you in Nashville.